Welcome to day 16 of the 30-day MyDFIR SOC Analyst Challenge, which is a challenge that I created for the sole purpose of helping aspiring SOC analysts obtain practical experience in 30 days. If you're interested in following along with this challenge, I would highly recommend that you pause this video and start from day 1 if you haven't done so already. In this video, I'll go over the authentication logs from our Windows server that we created back on day 5, and we'll also be creating a similar brute force alert, but for our Windows server. Let's get started. To begin, what you want to do is head over to your Elastic Web GUI and then click on the hamburger icon on the top left corner and select Discover. Currently my time frame is set to today, which is perfect, and I have about 94,000 events. Now, since we are interested in our RDP server, I am going to filter specifically for that server by clicking on the agent name on the left-hand side, and I'll click the plus button for the MyDFIR-win-Steven Rocks. And now we drilled it down to 32,000. Since we are interested in brute force activity, which again will show a lot of failed authentications, we want to look for any event ID that will tell us that, hey, this is a failed authentication. One simple way to do this is by Googling failed authentication event ID. And let's just add in Windows. We do see an event ID 4625, and this documents every failed attempt at logging on to a local computer. This is exactly what we want. I'll go back over to our Discover, and if I were to expand the first event from the top, I want to find out what field name I should be using to filter for our event ID. Scrolling down, there doesn't seem to be a field name of interest, so instead, I'll just type in 4625 in our query, and then hit Update. There you go. Now we have 2009 events. Expand the first event from the top, scroll down, and let's see, our 4625 lives under the field name of event.code. Cool. So just to make sure, I am going to type in event.code:4625. Hit update, and we're good. Now we know for sure that we are looking at only event codes that contain 4625. I am going to use the same notepad that I used for my SSH brute force, and just following the first 3 fields that we are looking for. First and foremost, the failed attempts, and that is what we have so far. We do not have a user or source IP yet, so let's modify our table to include that. I'll search the field names. Is there source.ip? There is, so I'll click on that, and we do have our IP addresses. Click on the plus button to add the field as column. Now, what about username? Let's see, user.name, and we do have 2 of them here. We have a winlog.user and a user.name. So the winlog.user does not have any field data, but the user.name does. So this is the one that I'll be using. And you know what? Just to make sure that we are looking at the right user, I'll expand the first event from the top. And what I'm looking for is the message, which is this one right here. So an account failed to log on. Let's see. The account for which logon failed, and we do see the user as user. The source network address begins with 103 and ends in .50. Looking at my table, begins with 103 and ends in .50. And the username is user. So this looks pretty promising to me. And I believe that's about it. So let's go ahead and save our query here. I'll type in RDP failed activity. Click on save. Now you might be wondering, well, Steven, how do I know that this is for sure RDP? And that's a good question. I mean, if you were to take a look at our logon type, scrolling down to the message, we see logon type 3. And typically what this means is that it is a network-based authentication. So this can include SMB or even RDP. But just to test it out, I am going to RDP using my actual host computer, and we'll see if it generates any logs. So I'll copy this IP address, and on the back end here, I am going to try and log in with MyDFIR-Steven Rocks, and I failed. Okay, let's take a look. I'll change the time to last 1 minute, and there you go. So MyDFIR-Steven Rocks is the username, the source IP address, and if we take a look at the message, we do see it as a logon type 3, which again is a network-based logon. Authentication type. Now, when it comes to successful logons, let me just type in success. We have a 4624, and within 4624, there are a list of different logon types for this particular event ID. As you can see, logon type 3 is network, And a successful logon with RDP is a logon type 10, where it says remote interactive and remote desktop. This can also generate a logon type 7 as well, just as an FYI. But we are successfully capturing RDP authentication activity. Just to make sure that I saved my search, I can click on open at the top right corner. And we do have our searches here. There is the SSH failed activity that we created earlier, and there's the new RDP failed activity. The next thing to do is to create our alert. I'll exit out of this and click on alerts and select create search threshold rule. Again, if you are participating in the giveaway, you do want to make sure that you add and include your handle, aka your username, whenever you're creating an alert. So I'll use the same as what I did before, change SSH to RDP, and that seems to be pretty good. Looking at my Elastic query here, it is focusing on event code 4625, where the count is above 1,000. I am going to change this to above 5, and I'll leave it as for the last 5 minutes, and we'll test query. So we have 2 documents, aka 2 events that matches this particular query. And yeah, I'll leave it as check every 1 minute. This is good. I'll click on save and save it out. Awesome, now our rule is created. The last thing to do is to create our dashboard, but that will be in tomorrow's video. While I was playing around with the alerts, I noticed that an alert was generated. And to go to your alerts, you can click on the hamburger icon and scroll all the way down, and under management, you want to select stack management. From here, you can click on alerts. And here I did notice an RDP brute force activity alert being generated. Now, when we click on this and click on view alert details, it doesn't really give us too much information. For example, who was the affected user, or what was the source IP? And if I click on table, it doesn't really tell me too much. You might wonder, okay, then how do we create an alert that will tell us all of that information? Well, we can click on the hamburger icon on the top left corner, and under security, we can select rules. This is where we can start creating rules/alerts that will provide us with that information. Whereas if we created the alert via the discover, then that would only provide us with limited information. So if we were to do it this way by clicking on alerts and create search threshold rule, it would create the one that would provide limited information. So let's create a rule that will provide us with all of the information here. I'll click on detection rules, and it says load elastic pre-built detection rules. Now it is up to you if you want to add them, but for me, I'll just leave it as is. And on the top right corner, I'm going to select create new rule. And then from here, we have a couple of options. We have a similar one, which is threshold, and this is the same one that I'll be using. So I'll select that and scroll down. For the index patterns, I'll leave everything as is. And then for the custom query, we can actually import the query from a saved timeline, but we don't have a saved timeline yet. And using our trusty notepad, I am going to copy the SSH failed query. And while I take a look at this, I do notice that there wasn't any username involved. So let's customize our query to add in our username. So I'll type in and user.name : and let's do root, because that is the only username that exists on our SSH server. And then what do you want to group it by? Well, let's group it by username. And I'll also group it by source.ip. For the required fields, let's have the source IP. And might as well add in the username. And then for the timeline template, we can start selecting a template, but we'll just leave it as blank for now. I'll click on continue, and for the rule, let's call it MyDFIR SSH brute force attempt, and then I'll say Steven rocks. So if you're following along with the giveaway, do make sure that you add in your handle/username. Description: this rule detects failed authentications towards the account root. For the severity, let's just say medium, and risk score, I'll leave it as default. And clicking on the advanced settings here, in a production environment, you can reference a URL. For example, if you saw a particular report on the internet that demonstrates this particular attack, this is where you can put in a reference for your analyst. You can also provide false positive examples and the MITRE attack tactic. But for now, let's just leave it as blank. There is a custom highlighted field, so let's select our source IP. And the cool thing here is that there's also a setup guide and an investigation guide as well. which is quite nice because every SOC environment is different, and depending on the tools and access that an analyst has, the investigation process might differ. So having a proper investigation guide will allow an analyst to know exactly what they can and cannot do. For the author and license, I'll leave it as blank, and I think we're good here. Let's click on continue. Schedule rule, it will run every, let's do 5 minutes, and the look back time will be 5 minutes. I'll click on continue. And for the rule actions, I'll leave it as is and then click on create and enable rule. Awesome. Now this rule has been created and it should provide us with a lot more details compared to the other one. Let's do the same for our RDP. So I'll click on rules, detection rules, and I'll click on create new rule. Let's select threshold. For the index pattern, I'll leave it as is. Custom query, let's go ahead and copy the query from our notepad. And again, I noticed that there was no username. So let's do and user.name is administrator, because that again is the only user account that exists. I'll group this by source.ip and the user.name. For the threshold, we'll do 5. For the required fields, let's just do source IP again and the username. Let's click on continue. For the name, call it MyDFIR-RDP-brute force attempt-Steven rocks. For the description, this rule detects failed authentication towards the account administrator via RDP. For the severity, let's put this as medium and let's click on continue. For this one, I'm going to make it run every 1 minute and we'll look back every, let's do 5 minutes and then click on continue and I'll select create and enable rule. Now we should have 2 rules that we created. And anytime there's an event that matches this criteria, it should generate an alert for us. And to test this rule, I went ahead and performed a brute force attack on my Kali machine towards my Windows server. Now in a later video, I will show you exactly how to do that. If I click on alerts, we do have an alert at the bottom now. So I can expand this by clicking on the view details icon. I'll go ahead and exit this one. And it provides us with the overview. So the rule description, the alert reason, it says event with source 84.239.27.12 by administrator. So this immediately tells me the username and the source IP. We have the highlighted fields, which include the username and the IP address. If I head over to table, scrolling down, we can see the threshold field and the value. So the top is source IP and the bottom is username. And we got our source IP and username. So already this provides us with a lot more information. If I click on visualizations, this feature requires an enterprise subscription. So unfortunately, we don't have that. Insights, it's coming from this computer, and response. So currently there's nothing here. But if we did have an EDR, we could set up a responsive action. And under insights, it provides us with a bunch of information about our server itself. So it contains the SID, the user ID, contains the domain, when it was first seen in the environment, when it was last seen, the operating system, and the IP address. In a later video, we'll actually go deeper into how to investigate these alerts. One last thing I want to leave you with is that I am fully aware that this kind of alert is not that great. In fact, I did it this way to show you what you can do, what are the possibilities, and how easy it is to create an alert. But I will leave it up to you to start tuning it and make it a lot better. I would highly encourage you to research what are the other options that you can create. I would highly recommend that you research what are the other options. For example, if we go over to rules, detection rules, and create new rule, play around with the custom query. What about event correlation, indicator match, new terms, or ESQL? And see what you can come up with. As you can see, if you leave a service such as SSH or RDP out on the internet, everybody is going to try to gain access to it. This is why it is extremely important to 1, understand what assets have these services exposed. 2, if it is intentional, make sure to use strong passwords and MFA for an additional layer of security. And 3, limit who has access to these services. It is likely that the entire internet does not need to have access. You should now have a total of 2 brute force alerts, one for your Ubuntu server and the second for your Windows server. In the next video, we'll begin creating a similar dashboard where we'll be able to see where these authentication attempts are sourcing from. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe if you want to. Remember to stay curious and do things differently.